Seth and Charles, can you see?
Yeah, I can see.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
All right, perfect. I'm going to leave you guys unmuted. If you've got background noise there, just mute it. But please, it makes it a lot easier if I can just talk directly back and forth with you guys rather than having a chat or wait for you. So just prepare yourself to unmute yourself and answer questions or ask them as we go here. So we're gonna start off by I had a couple of things that I just wanted to chat about here, and let me just send my developer a message here reminding him that I'm on. I forgot to do this. Sorry, guys. My computer just restarted, so now we've got some beach ball issues here. While we're waiting for that to spin up, what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about how to kind of use the data that you generate in a different way for other services. So I'm going to just go down into a completed campaign. I know all these are roughly about the same size, so I'll go into this Aurora campaign. I'll scroll down, and I know it's 100% complete because of there's no prospects to send a message to here, and it said it was 100% complete out there too. And let me tell Ben. All right. So what we want to do is find a campaign that's already been completed, and we're going to download those phone numbers. I'm going to download. You can download either the mobile, landlines, or whatever. This one is all mobile for some reason. Let me back out and go to a different one that has both. We'll go to Arapahoe Comprehensive 07. Let's see what we're dealing with here. So that's a big one. We'll just download the mobile. Well, that's a big one. Let me go back out to one that's not quite so big. All right, so I'm just going to download all of them. This is going to take a couple of minutes because it's a bigger campaign. But what I want to start to talk about is how to use this data in different areas, right? So what we want to do is, and what we do here at my company is we do voice broadcasts or RVMs. We do cold calls and on top of Sherpa. So we're maximizing the usage of these phone numbers that we paid for. And Sherpa is a good filter it's a good first pass filter to pick the low-hanging fruit, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it. And so by that, I mean, your first time through, you're going to get a lot of no's, a lot of maybes, a lot of interesteds, a lot of wrong numbers, all that kind of stuff. And what you're left with after a campaign is complete is a good cross section of all of those things that you can sort and then use that data to your advantage then. So this thing's downloading. It's a big file, so it's going to take a couple of minutes. But what we're going to do once we have it, we're going to open it up and sort out all the people who have been marked dead. We'll sort out all the people who have been marked as they don't own the property. So that way we know when we upload that list and we're also going to sort out the litigators and the DNCs. And what we're left with are people who only want, we don't know what they want, but they haven't responded to our text message yet. And so we know that it's not a dead prospect. We're not hitting somebody over and over again, asking the same stuff. It looks like we're done here. So let me go ahead and open this up. And I'll show you what I mean by this here once we start to sort it. While this is opening up, guys, do you have any specific things that you'd like me to address today? I'll kind of write them down here in a list as we're waiting.
Hey, Jason, just one quick thing. I think you probably mentioned it before, but I figured
Yeah.
I'd ask you here. Was kind of which list you found have been the best responsive to Sherpa?
Certainly the best response is always going to be a distressed list. So
Yeah.
if you can pull a pre-foreclosure list in your area, start there. If you can pull, any kind of distress, any tax defaults, any code violations, all that stuff, those are usually smaller lists though. So, again, we go wide just because we
Mhm.
have to. And by doing that, you're going to get everybody that's on those niche lists anyway,
Yeah.
because you're getting everybody in your market. But if you want to start and go for the low-hanging fruit right away, then I would always just go for the same thing applies as you would like to direct mail, right? Or when
Yeah.
you're stacking your list, if you're using Joe's software, you go for those really good niche lists first, and then you're going to have to expand because you're going to go through that data very quickly.
Oh yeah. 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 I
All
guess.
right,
And
go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say, if your non-owner occupieds are better responsive and more open than your owner occupied, or do you
Typically,
find?
yes.
Okay.
The vast majority of all of our deals in Denver are tired landlords.
Ah, okay.
I would say probably 9 out of 10 deals are tired 90% or more are tired landlords.
Hmm.
I don't know how that might apply to other markets. We're in 2 or 3 markets in Colorado, 3 or 4 markets actually in Colorado, and that's been true. That holds true to all the markets that we're in here. We've been in Dallas a little bit. We're not anymore, but that held true there as well while we were down there. I would say to answer your question, if you wanted to go a little bit wider without going to everybody, then we always talk about filtering your properties or your prospects based off of time owned. So maybe 8 years owned, at least 8 years, and at or below the median price point, or slightly above the median price point. And then if you want to tack on another filter above on top of that, then tack on your absentee owned filter, and that'll
Hmm.
give you a pretty good sized list to work
Yeah.
with people who don't have that emotional attachment to the property typically.
Right. Hmm. Yeah. No, yeah. Just 'cause I'm kind of noticing that as well. Just the owner occupied, non-owner occupied, they're just a little more responsive right now.
Yeah, yeah. They're, if you think about it, if you receive a text message from somebody, put yourself in the prospect shoes. If you were to receive a text message offering to buy your house, the one that you live in, you're gonna, a lot of people are just gonna kind of blow that off, or some people get offended. I mean, you've seen how people react to it. But if it's a property that you don't live in, that maybe has a tenant that you've owned for years, that it's easier for you to think about selling that because you don't have to think about where you need to go yourself.
Right. Right.
All right, so here's the data sheet that just popped up. Typically, I'll go in and kind of clean it up a little bit. So I'm going to delete the public page. We don't need that. If you want to, we've now added owner verifieds and vacant. So if it's vacant, you can come in here to your data tab and we'll sort it. Let's see if there's any vacants in here. It doesn't look like there are. So there's 15,000 or so and no vacants at all. This is the USPS vacant indicator that our system is able to pick up on. This owner verified column, which is also new, this directly relates to when you're going through and clicking that button. Let me just go to a prospect for you. So when you click this owner verified button, that is what this column is indicating here. So when you click an owner verified button, it would show up as owner. And if there's a related property or name with the same property address, it's canceling out those additional people, because those are people that may be associated with the owner, like a wife or a husband, or a daughter or something like that, but it's indicating that they're no longer an owner. So you can filter this as well. So if you want to say, I want to take out all the non-owners before I RVM these people, you'd want to delete from there all the way down and get rid of those guys, because we already know from the process of elimination through Sherpa that these are not people we want to contact if we're going to be dropping voicemails. The same thing would apply to the stage. Okay, so you can sort by the stage. We all know how to do this in Excel. So we'll sort by stage A to Z, which will bring the stage of dead up to the top. And I'll scroll down, and we're going to treat dead autos the same way, because we still know that those are people we don't want to contact. Right, and we'll delete these all out. So there's 2,000 that now we know we don't want to contact. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to also sort the non-owners. So let's go ahead and do those.
Jason, could you make your spreadsheet full screen, please?
Is that any better?
Yep.
So what I'm going to do is I just separated out let's do this here. I've got a ultra wide monitor here, which is why it's probably not looking too good on your guys' side, but we'll do the best we can here with it. So I just deleted out now all the stages of dead and auto deads. And then now I've sorted the owner column. So I want to get rid of all these non-owners, because I already know that they don't own the property that we're interested in. So I'm going to scroll down and get rid of those guys. Now we know these guys are the owners. And so if you want, these would be like, let's say you've got several campaigns that are finished and you want a highly targeted list of people that own the properties that aren't dead yet. Now I've got that. So I've got 30 people that I can call and try and strike up a conversation with. And if I want to, I can go back directly to the lead in Sherpa, because I've got the link here. You might load this up, say in Google Sheets, so you can directly click the link and kind of work through it. Make another column that says notes, and you can now start to work this list of people, because that they're the owners, that they're not dead, and there might be a reason for you to continue to contact them. The rest of these people, and we started out with about 15,000. I'm guessing we're going to be around 12 or 13. So we've removed about 3,000 people. We're at 12,300. So the rest of these people, this is the column of stage, the lead stage column. There's nothing in that column, because they haven't ever responded to our inquiries. So what does that mean? Well, we already know that 70% roughly of every campaign, we get a response rate of between 30 and 40%. So roughly about 70%, 65-70% of these people are not responding to us via text message. And so what we want to do is hit them in another way. And so this would be a good list then to cold call. This would be a good list to voicemail drop. and really, you could even mail them too if you wanted to. Now, I realize we don't have the mailing address. Right now we only have property address in here. That's on our list of things to add here very soon. So mailing may not be the best choice simply because you don't have their mailing address imported into the system right now, but definitely voicemail drop all these people and definitely cold call them all. Your data then has been kind of curated in a way that you're not wasting. I mean, we just saved, if instead of voicemail dropping all of these people, we were able to remove 3,000 people from the list, which saves us money, and it also saves pissed off people calling in telling us that, hey, you've already contacted us, if they can even connect the dots on it. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. I'm going to minimize this here. The same kind of thing can be said for doing a list on Scrub Litigator. So this is a tool, I don't know if you guys know about this or not, but this is a tool that we're automatically scrubbing litigators when we, and here's another thing. Let me see if we did this the right way. Let me go back here. So, one thing I didn't do here, let me just make sure that you guys understand this too. We also want to make sure we're scrubbing out our DNCs. So I left this out. I don't know why I did that, but so we want to make sure if they're true, if they're on our do not call list. So I didn't take this through to completion here. So I'm going to remove everybody that's on the DNC. So get rid of all the trues. So that's another 1,000 people we're deleting from the list. And then now litigators. Doesn't look like there's any litigators on here. So now instead of 12,000, we should probably have around 11-ish. Yeah. So we're at 11,300. So we removed 3,000 or 4,000 people from the list. And now I would consider this list to be ready to RVM and cold call, because these are all mostly people who have never responded to our text message inquiry. And so it's kind of a fresh list if you look at it that way. Now, I wouldn't, because of the fact that they did not respond initially to text message, I would remember that and expect a lower response rate than you would typically see, because they've already kind of told us no by not saying anything back. But the fact that they haven't said anything back still leaves them open to prospect too. So back to Scrub Litigator. Has anybody on the call used this tool yet?
I used it this morning.
And how did it work well for you? I mean, did it churn through your data okay?
Yeah, it did. I think the only thing, I got confused at first because I wanted to ask you this too. I can just put the phone 7 times, meaning that use that column 7 times when I upload it.
I think we have it set to, well, is it 7 times? Let's see.
Yeah, because there's only one column phone.
Yeah, you should be able to use that. I believe it's up to 7 times actually. So, and this is something that we changed on the main Sherpa upload to like phone 1, 2, 3. We'll do that here at some point as well, but we're focused on other things. So, so full name, we've got the first and last name. So full name, skip. I'm going to skip the stage. I'm going to go to phone. Street. City. I'm going to skip the phone type. I'm going to skip the owner verified. Skip the vacant. I think this has already been run, but we're going to run it again just since we're this far here. skip that. Skip. And so this tool will this is a good tool to run. You don't need to run it on lists that have already been exported out of Sherpa because it's already been done. But if you have lists, let's say, that you haven't uploaded to Sherpa yet, or that you want to start by RVMing, voicemail blasting right away or cold calling right away, highly recommend you run your list through this first, so that way you can prune out your litigators. You can, if you have let's say you've got a huge list of properties that you don't even have phone numbers for, but you want to know whether or not they're vacant, right? Well, you can still, I think, upload. I haven't tried this, but I would imagine that it would work, because it's still going to go out and check those properties for vacancy. And so then you can process a list of 100,000 or less records, and it'll take a little bit of time, maybe 30 minutes or so, probably a little bit less if you do the full amount. But it'll return back to you a list of vacant properties with or without phone numbers. And so you can then sort that list, and now maybe you've got a more targeted list of properties to skip trace or to mail, if that's what you want to do, if you're still mailing. So it's validating addresses right now, which, while it does that, it's looking for the vacant properties. We have a service that we subscribe to that helps run all this data through it and returns back this information for us. So this is a smaller list. I'd be surprised if I see any vacants. I think I've got a bigger one that I ran. Let me see. That's not it. Yeah, this is it. So I think I ran this one through just to see what it would tell me. And so this shows the vacant. So if I'll go to the data tab and I'll sort it to show my yeses on top, now I've got let's see how many. Got a couple hundred vacant properties here out of my big list that I can focus in on targeting. More than a couple hundred that I can focus in on targeting, and I've got their phone numbers here too. So if you want, I don't think we have, now that I think about it, I don't know if we have the vacant check being run on a weekly basis. So if let's say you've got an older list in Sherpa, download that list and run it through Scrub Litigator. It will then tell you where your vacant properties are at. Then you've got your phone numbers already, like you can see here, next to them. So I've got vacant properties, yes, and I've got their phone numbers. So maybe what I would do is let's filter out all the deads. A lot of deads here. Okay, let's filter out all those deads. I want to delete them. Let's filter out all the litigators. Actually, all the DNCs first. It's the same process as we just went through, but now we've got vacant properties. Okay, so litigators, we'll check that one. There's no litigators. Okay, so now we go back to vacant, and we're going to sort it to yes. And now we've got not too many. So now we got 75, 76 people who are vacant. They never responded because there's no lead stage here. Never responded, but they're vacant properties, and we have their phone numbers. So that would be a good targeted list to start calling, or, you know, a voicemail drop to 75 people doesn't really do much. So really, I would hand this off to your cold callers, or just pick up the phone and start calling them yourself, because there's a possibility that, you know, it's not exactly perfect every time these things are indicated as vacant. In fact, I would say it's probably right 50% of the time, maybe. But it's way better than focusing on the other 10,000. These give you the opportunity to kind of narrow your focus. So this is kind of a more advanced way that we use the data that Sherpa kind of compiles for us over time, and it's a way to kind of recycle the data rather than saying, oh, well, I'm already at the end of my list, there's nothing more I can do here. There are other ways to use the data. So that's all I had for my plan session here today. What do you guys want to talk about here that I can help you with? Anyone? Seth?
I'm not sure if it's something that you can really help with, but I'm having a really hard time even getting to any motivated people. You know, most of them are just, those that respond are just curious, and they ask, you know, how much are you going to pay? And either I say, you know, I need a little bit more information about the condition, and then they disappear, or after a couple more interactions, they just don't respond. So.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think, Olga, we knew from the get-go it was going to be tough in that Bay Area market for you. Right. So, you know, there's just a lot of competition, and you know, I think the best thing I can say is it really does go back to the list that you're using, and you know, if you're not supremely confident that the list and the data that you've gathered for your market is good, and that you're hitting the low-hanging fruit first, then it may not be working for you, and that's probably what you're seeing. So I would start by trying to find a list of distressed properties, you know, pre-foreclosures if you can. I don't know what that is like in your market. If there's a way for you to get that data, I think you're in California, so I think Property Radar is available to you. I think I've heard really good things about that.
The thing about the market here is that there are a lot of people going after the distressed population. So a lot of times when I actually reach somebody, you know, on the absentee list or something like that, then they'll be kind of hostile, you know, and saying, so many people already contacted me about this.
Okay.
So
then I would say the next step would be to run, like we were talking about earlier, an absentee list that, you know, maybe hasn't sold the property in the last 8 years at or below the median price point. That's going to give you a pretty big list. You know, depending on what county you're in. But I would look, you know, if you're in the hottest county, you're competing with thousands of people that, you know, have been doing this a lot longer than you have. So it may be difficult for you to get some traction there. You know, I always suggest looking further out from your main market if there's an area that you still feel comfortable working in. You know, there might be more opportunity if you're fishing where everyone else isn't, or where there's not as many people fishing for the same thing.
Right.
But I know your market is a difficult one to do deals in, so I feel your pain. Charles or Seth?
No, I think I'm good right now. I mean, I'm just turning away. And I mean, I would agree with what you said earlier. Maybe if for the Bay Market person, I mean, maybe go out a little bit further because I know even in my market, yeah, in the cities, almost there's just people. So I'm trying to hit the outskirts if I can too, and even a town like an hour away.
Yeah, we've gone when we're not in other states. We've gone, in our own market up to 2 or 3 hours away from where I'm at, and I can tell you, in one of the markets, the number of leads that are being generated is exponentially more. By that I mean, I send out 1,000 messages, and instead of 2 or 3 leads, I might get 10 or 15. So certainly, you'll notice a difference when you move into an area that it doesn't have as much competition or just has a different type of market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be looking for something.
Let me show you guys one other thing we just added. So if you go into your account settings page, maybe.
And maybe, well, go ahead. Let's pull it up. I was just gonna say while that's pulling up,
Go ahead.
on the download, are you guys going to add something later where we can pull from multiple campaigns, like the reports versus going to each campaign and
We want to
downloading?
get there. We certainly want to get there. That's on our list to have, more robust accounting or more robust statistics, and incorporate into that being able to download your data directly. So we definitely understand the need for that, and we'll get there.
Okay.
So you can now, if you go down to the DNC list here under your account settings tab, we've added the ability to export your DNC list. So this is your internal DNC list. Every time you hit that red button, those numbers are added to this list. And now if you already have a bunch of phone numbers that you don't want to hit, you can add those here as well, and that'll be added to your DNC list. So for example, Nathan Price, he realized that he was hitting a bunch of PO boxes, and they didn't realize this. They just didn't clean their data before they uploaded it. They didn't realize that until it was too late. And the post office contacted them all pissed off because they're saying, well, why are you trying to buy post office? Why are you trying to buy PO boxes? And he realized he had a bunch of phone numbers that were still in his list that needed to be added. So he had, I think it was like 5,000 or 6,000. And so what he and you are able to do now then is he was able to sort his list, go back to his original list, sort by PO box to get to all those phone numbers, and then just upload a single column CSV with those phone numbers here. And now he knows he's not going to be, even though that they'll come up as he's working through his list, the system will check against that number now and make sure that it doesn't send that phone number a message. And so he's safe now knowing that he won't send those PO box owners any more messages. So that's one way. A lot of us have call lists or phone numbers from people from other campaigns that we know we don't want to mail, and that's where you would want to upload it here too.
Okay. Yeah.
Does everyone understand how the SMS relay function works?
Yeah, I do.
Yes? Okay. One thing that I do, you can see we've got, okay, so Will's only got 4 available here. And so I'm going to go in. I know that today we'll probably run out of numbers for him or connections that are allowed. So I'm going to come in here and clean this up. I usually leave this up to him to do himself, but I'll show you guys how we kind of look at it today. So you come into the section for whoever it is that you want to manage, and you look at the last activity and how long ago they were connected. So I'll look for people that were connected, you know, a couple of weeks ago, and the same being with the last activity, meaning I haven't really talked to them. So like for this person, for example, we connected this guy 3 weeks ago, but we haven't called or texted him since. And so that tells me there's no action there, so I'll go ahead and disconnect that relay. I typically don't want to do this for my people because they know these names and addresses better than I do, and so it makes more sense for them to do it. But I'm just kind of showing you how to look at this. So this guy Donald, we connected to 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks ago, and there's been no activity, so that's a good candidate to disconnect. And I'll just go down the line and do all these, right? So it makes sense to disconnect all of them because we haven't talked to these people at all after we initially contacted them. And what that usually means is we'll do our initial 10-minute phone call with them, but there hasn't been any action on it since, so it's probably just a cold lead. So 2 weeks, this guy probably disconnect too. So that's how you do that. I just freed up 4 or 5 for him, so he should be good for the day, and I'll let him come back and manage this himself. Do I have any other questions from you guys on specific things that, problems maybe that you're having or things that you want to address?
Jason, do you have a tip for handling messages that you get on the weekends or late at night?
So on the weekends, I have my guy check once or twice over the weekend. Usually he's working on Saturday too, and then he'll check once on Sunday to kind of clean up the messages as the straggler messages come back in. You know, anybody that comes in late at night, if somebody's texting me, you know, and let's say, for example, I'm kind of working late and it's 9 o'clock. You know, you're technically not allowed to mark it after, I believe it's 8:30 p.m. Local time. You know, it's not something that you want to do in order to stay compliant. But if somebody's text messaging you individually, I have no problem with you guys following up with them right then and there because they're clearly showing an interest in talking to you in some way. So, you know, if at night you want to go after 9 p.m. and check your replies and you see some people messaged you, you know, within the last 15, 20 minutes, you can get back to them then if you want to. I've never had people push back on me because they're already up messaging at that time.
Okay.
All right, guys, if there's nothing else, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. I'll post the link here in the Facebook group, and good luck. Keep cranking away. Hopefully you guys are getting some good traction.
All right. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, guys.